This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD live but on Zoom, Janise Hurtig. She is the head of many writing groups, and let her tell us about her work. Janise, welcome to WZRD.
Thank you. Oh, it's Janise, but no problem.
Yeah, Janise, yes.
Yes. Thank you, Trudy. Thanks so much for having me. Yes, so I coordinate a program called the Community Writing Project, and we've been in existence for 23 years. We were started by Hal Adams, who had returned to UIC after many years of running a project called the Journal of Ordinary Thought that then became the Neighborhood Writing Alliance. And when he decided to move away from there and return to UIC, where I was at the time, I met up with him. I knew about his work, and I started doing some writing workshops with him and gradually partnered up with him to run the Community Writing Project.
The writers that participate from the neighborhoods, are they aspiring writers, or are they just want an outlet to express themselves and share with the community?
You know, that's a great question. It really varies. So when we start writing groups in neighborhood settings around the Chicago area, explicitly in places where explicitly in poorer and more marginalized communities where people these days don't tend to have a voice. And when we start a writing workshop, we open it up to whomever's interested. And there are people who come because they are aspiring writers, or they've been doing some writing, or they write in their journals. Some people come because they're just curious. Some people come because they say, oh, I'd just like to make my writing better to help my kids in school. Many different reasons. And so, yeah, so they come for different reasons, but then we all end up writing primarily personal narrative writing together. It's really meant to be a space where people can write about experiences in their lives, share their stories with each other, reflect on them, learn from each other about their experiences and what they mean, and also develop their writing as an art. Yeah. And then we also always put out a magazine called Real Conditions. And I can hold up some copies. I have many copies I can share with you, which then circulates for free within and beyond the community, so that the writers' stories can get out into the public sphere, really.
Yeah, you could hold up some of the covers and read the cover titles for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah. And this will show you also the range of where we've done writing groups. I'll start out with some. So this is an example of one from, back in 2005, when we were doing a lot of workshops at schools with parents. It's in schools. This is one that was from a group we had, Native American writers, and they titled it Chinootin Me, which meant big wind, and subtitle, We Write for Ourselves. And we had that writing group. It was a collaboration between CPS and the Kateri Native American Center. Let's see, more recent. Then I wanted to share these. This one, You Turn Permitted, was from a writing group we did with North Lawndale the North Lawndale Neighborhood Center, and these were returning citizens who were in like a jobs training program, and they wrote together.
So the U-turn represents their second chance then?
Yes, there you go, absolutely. And these were two we did with SEIU, the union. So members of the SEIU union who came together to write, and we did that in conjunction with Marsha Love and Joe Zanoni, who were at the UIC College of Public Health, and they do a lot of work for health and safety issues. And in fact, one of the writers from that group then went on to help me co-facilitate another writing group. More recently, let me show you a couple of these. This is one.
Yeah, before we go further, how did you get connected with SEIU? They're kind of separate from neighborhood groups and returning citizens, but now you got the unions involved as well.
Well, yes, yeah. In that case, that was our what we did one other project with some folks working with the UFCW as well. Yes, wherever there are, so it can be in neighborhoods, but also like the Chinootan group, the Native American group, wasn't in a neighborhood, but it represented a community, right? Yeah.
How did you start working with the CPS, and what are other segments or populations do you work with through CPS?
Yeah, so we started working with CPS. I had been doing other work with CPS for quite a while, research and evaluation work, but really word of mouth. And then through the Department of Literacy, I believe, a staff member there who worked with Title IX reached out to me, and we talked about the possibility of doing this with parents. And then that led us into a connection with the Kateri Center, which was affiliated with the Archdiocese, actually. So that was the site, but it was really open to anyone in the Native American, the urban Indian community. Yeah. In general, just to say, wherever we start a group, it's very much our philosophy that we are inclusive and that people can participate wherever they come from for whatever reasons they want to, as long as, there's shared respect. Yeah.
And every one of these groups, so what is the approximate number of participants in any one group, or does it vary by a lot?
It varies from like 4 or 5 to 20, I'd say, depending on the group. Yeah. Generally, having more than 10 or 12 people gets a little cumbersome because we like it to be an intimate space. It also varies in terms of length of how long the groups last. So I'll just hold this up so you can see this group, Voices of Experience. This was a collaboration with the Workers Teatro group and UIC. And Workers Teatro does like theater of the oppressed work with precarious people in precarious work situations. And that one, it was rather short. We had several workshops together. The writings led to theater pieces, and we put it all together. We have other groups that have been going on for years, that will go on for years. So it really depends. We have now like groups at libraries that have been going on a long time also. Yeah.
Our listeners might be intrigued about looking at these publications. If they want to, just browse through them, is there any way that they can access them? There seems to be very many.
Yes, and so we do have a website, and it's at www.communitywritingproject.org. And many of these are the most recent ones. I still have to update the website, but you can download them from there. Absolutely. Oh, it's very much open access.
It's almost an archive then.
Yes, yes. And there are other materials there, the materials we use, events, other kinds of materials on the website. Yeah, yeah.
What are the ages of your participants? How young could they be, and how old have they been?
Yeah, great question. So, this was started as a project for adults. and it's run that way. So in general, we've had adults in the groups ranging from young adults to people to seniors, you know, in their 70s, 80s. I don't know that we've had anyone in 90, but maybe. And but we have partnered with some organizations like the Logan Square Neighborhood Association. One of the organizers there who worked with youth, she did a writing workshop with youth organizers. So certainly we're very open to that as well. Yeah.
Are there any of the writers that went on to write professionally and become published?
And become published. So, you know, and that's interesting. So, well, one writer, Ana Velázquez, she wrote under a pseudonym a book that was published in Guatemala, actually, about 9/11. So she did in a couple of the library groups. There are people who have gotten their work published in you know, in different forums or have self-published also. What I will say about that, though, is it's very much the philosophy, the underlying philosophy of the community writing project is grounded in popular education. And so it's very much our belief that that ordinary people should have the opportunity to write and express themselves in their own way on their own terms. Right. What often happens with formal publishing is suddenly you get this editorial staff that, you know, have their own ideas. So some agency is lost. It's not that we discourage people from publishing other ways, but we also want, the magazines we produce, we make sure that they're, you know, beautiful and well and artistically rendered so that people can be proud of those as well. And by the way, these magazines have made their way to different places around the globe.
Such as where?
Such as Latin America, Asia, Africa, Europe. Yeah.
Well, everywhere then, practically.
Everywhere, yeah, yeah.
And the art, you say that it's beautifully produced, and I've seen copies. And let's say the cover art and any inside art, are those also produced by the writers as well?
So that's varied. I think you saw work from our Nathalie Salmon group, and the covers from there were produced by a member of the writing group who once upon a time had been a school teacher and an art teacher. Then actually some of the covers have been produced by both some art students at UIC and then by what do they call it? To be candid, my father, who had been when he retired as an art professor at UIC, he designed many of the magazines as well, and also other community members. So we've done projects. For instance, we had one at Little Village Lawndale High School, and they were doing a youth arts program as well. So the youth were given the stories and they designed the art for the magazine. Most recently, we have a magazine that's just come out of writers through a program, a college creative writing and reading program at Stateville prison, and the artists there designed the cover and the inside art for that as well. Yeah.
How were you able to start that writing group in Stateville Correctional
Facility? Yeah, that was through here it is. Wait, I'm trying to find the. Give me shoot. That was through a partnership with NEIU called. It's let me get the actual name here. Give me a second. Here we go. The Prison and Neighborhood Arts Education Program. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did it in collaboration with that program and the two faculty members, Bill Ayers and Rachel DeWaskin, who taught that critical reading and writing program.
How many participants were in the Stateville writing group?
Aha, great question. So that was, I just had it here. I want to say about 10 or 12, but let me tell you exactly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 writers, yeah.
And how long has the group been in existence? And they're still going strong now, right?
I'm not sure what'll happen now. So that was a course they actually taught, but the program itself is still in existence. So I'm hoping that, more of their writing will come out. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've
In
seen
fact, and we have a history of writing like this. In fact, one of our earliest magazines were writings from women of Division 4 Cook County Jail. And that was done in 2000. And that had many, many, many writers. And that was done with, it was a collaboration with several people who were faculty at DePaul and UIC.
Okay. Yes, the P+NAP, I heard about it too. And then I've also seen some writings published in our H.O.M.E Sola magazine. They seem very well written, and I'm just wondering maybe that the student was part of the group as well, because he was an incarcerated individual.
Yeah, that could be. The writings in this magazine are just, incredible, really. That's another thing I want to stress is that one of the things you find when you've been doing this work for a while is, and that we've always believed and known, is that just because someone isn't a published writer doesn't mean that they aren't a beautiful writer. And there's beauty in every story that comes out. There's beauty, there's wisdom, there's experience that is worth sharing, that people, need to know.
Right. And your group helps share this work because when people write a lot of these people want to share, and if they're not able to publish, but with your group, they're able to share and discuss. And do people is it sometimes like therapy for these writers?
While we never promote it as that, many writers, when they actually write about and reflect on the experience, that's what they say is it's very therapeutic. They can get things off their chests. They can share what they haven't been able to. I think especially, I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the participants have been women, a lot because of scheduling. And what they'll say is, it's a space in which they know that they are treated with and treat each other with dignity and respect, and that their lives are valued. And we know that that's not always true. That's not really true in their everyday experiences. Yeah.
Well, when you mentioned that the 80 to 90% of the women that are, are the participants are 80 to 90% women because of scheduling. Is that on account of the women have a little bit more time, and then the men is it that glass ceiling that are giving these women more time to write and to join these groups?
Perhaps it may be. I wouldn't say, when you think about the communities that we're working in, people, family members are working multiple jobs. It may just be that the women, for instance, doing this in schools, women often had the time available to come into the school and be there, or, and we're only talking again, 6 to 10 people. Right. The other thing I think is also just, especially in in the Latino community or the Latinx community, there was more hesitance among men to kind of enter into the space of the school and spend some time outside of in our workshops outside of school settings. I think more men have participated, so that might have been some of it also. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So because Latino men, they're they have to be a little bit. It's cultural, and they seem to be a little bit. They'll step away from this. They're more like the head of the household.
A little more. Yeah. A little more. Yeah. Yeah.
Have the groups ever branched out to in addition to writing, maybe also creating art, or maybe creating short skits or plays?
Great. Yeah, another great question. And the possibilities are endless. So that one group I mentioned, the Workers Teatro, that's what they did with the stories. They created skits, but that's not the only time. So we've partnered sometimes like with other organizations or individuals to generate skits, or do some improvisation or other kind of theatrical work based on the stories. Yes. Another project we did with art was a wonderful documentary photographer, Sarah Hoskin. She did some photography previously for Journal of Ordinary Thought, and then also for our magazine's Real Conditions. And she did on a few occasions a workshop where this was back in the day with disposable cameras, where she'd come in and we'd have disposable cameras for all the participants. And we talked some about them documenting their lives in words and how you can document your lives in photography. And they would go out and take photographs in their neighborhood and then bring them back and we developed them, and then they'd write in response to the photographs they'd taken. And that's been wonderful too. Yeah. So that's another project that we've done with to expand. I should also mention, I think I mentioned this to you before, whenever a magazine is released, we always have some kind of a public reading. So in the setting, say a school or a community organization, they'll hold a reading there. Or for instance, in Little Village, we did a reading in some of the community gardens, and then at Enlace, Chicago. But what we also do periodically is have what we call citywide readings. Now, with COVID, we put those online, but now at the Nathalie Salmon House, we've been able to do those hybrid. And that lets writers from our different writing groups meet each other and share their writing with each other.
Do they meet via Zoom too, or do they come in?
We've been doing it hybrid so that it's
Hybrid,
on Zoom, and you can come in. Yes, it's wonderful. It's just been wonderful. Yeah.
When when the group is on Zoom, about how many participants are there?
You mean in general or at the reading?
At the reading plus the Zoom participants, does that add a lot of participants to the core group?
So when we've done a citywide reading, we get about, well, there's the writers plus the audience. So writers, we usually have around 20 writers who will read during those 2 hours, and then there will be another, say, 20 people, 20 or more people who are the audience, who are there to listen. Yeah. Either they come in person or they're on Zoom. Yeah.
Are any of those Zoom recordings also in the archive for our listeners to view?
We will be uploading the most recent one. Yes. Yeah. What we will have in the archive is the compilation of the writings that were shared at the reading. Yeah. Yes, we do have a few groups that meet on Zoom. So there are two with what we call our affiliates. So at the Budlong Library, at the Bazazian Library, and the Edgewater Library group is a CWP group. And then we have an open to anyone Sunday Zoom group, writing group also. And then in 2024, we'll be starting a Spanish language Zoom writing group. Yeah.
When your participants submit the writings, and then do any of these writings maybe get into some of the professional theater groups that might troops that might use those writings as part of their a play that they might want to produce?
You know, that's a great idea. The only time that something like that happened was back with the original Journal of Ordinary Thought. Hal partnered with the Chicago Theater Ensemble, who produced a play called The Journal of Ordinary Thought. But you know, that's a wonderful idea. We have not. Yeah, yeah.
And your writing groups, I know that there are a lot in Chicago, and I know that the journals are distributed across the globe. But how many of these writing groups are outside the Chicago area, and how far do they extend?
Well, it really depends on, let me think. We've had groups in Iowa, Minneapolis. One of our participants from Mexico, she was back in Mexico and trained some people there, and they started a writing group there. There have been groups started in, I can't keep track of all of them, because we do a facilitator training twice a year. And now, because we do it now on Zoom, it means people can come from anywhere. And so I know, for instance, a group was started in New Mexico. So that's really another part of the vision of the Community Writing Project, is that people take this approach, which is all about, you know, all based on dialogue and the generative process of people writing about what they want to write on their own terms, and taking that, and it springs up other places, you know, just like wildflowers, seeds going out in the breeze.
Yes, it's much more individualized. These writings that do, you know, get distributed, they're not being they're not coming out of a public publishing house, so they don't have that kind of aura around them. These are so unique. Each one is unique.
That's the idea, exactly. Each one is unique to its place, and also each writing group evolves based on the way the writers want it to run. You know, by the time they've written together they start to come up with their own ideas about how they want the workshop to go, what they want it to be about. We are planning to do a skit at the Nathalie Salmon House, because they're great. They're very theatrical. And so they want to do that. Yeah.
When is that going to be happening? Are they writing the skit now?
No, we're going to start that with the new year. Yes. I will keep you informed. Yes,
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
If people wanted to start a writing group,
Yes.
how would they do that through your you know, your organization?
Through the project. So they could reach me, and they could either reach me at my email or the Community Writing Project email. I can put it in the chat for you, but
Okay.
Let's see here. Hold on a minute. Here. So it's either, they're pretty simple.
Yeah, you could also read it to our listeners too. We're
Oh,
live
that's
right
probably
now.
better, right? So they can email community, all one word. Hold on a minute. Community Writing Project 20, that's 20, @gmail.com. Or they can email me, or both, J, D as in deer, Hurtig, HURTIG, @gmail.com. And then I can give them information about, so if they want to be part of the Community Writing Project, we encourage people to go through a facilitator training. where we meet over a few weeks, like 4 weeks, as though we're a writing group, and we talk about how we do it and what our philosophy is. And then we talk about how the community writing project can support them in getting a writing workshop going. And depending on where they're doing this, we'd like to try to make funds available to at least put out a small magazine, if they don't have the funding to do that. Yeah.
How many groups do you have approximately now that are
Going
running?
now?
Yes.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are six groups that are running now, and then a couple to start. Oh, 7. Yeah, 7 groups that are ongoing right now, and then 2 more to start in 2024. Yeah.
And if people wanted to join some group, should they also contact you the same way?
Absolutely, yes. And the groups that are on Zoom, I have to again update the website with the current hours of the different groups. But the ones that are on Zoom, of course, anyone can join. If they're in person, you have to be able to get to where they are. But yeah, absolutely, they should reach out. And if people are interested, yeah. And if they'd like a writing group to start somewhere, but they don't feel like they could actually become a writing workshop facilitator, they should also let us know, because we have trained facilitators who may be available.
How does the climate affect these groups, such as let's say during the pandemic and with the George Floyd killing? Did that affect the content of the writing groups, or do the writers usually stay within their experiences?
Well, and I would say, so depending on how you describe experiences, their experience of, say, the George Floyd murder, we can go back to 9/11, their experiences of that, their experiences of what's going on now in the Middle East. It's their experience of that. So if that is what people want to write about, then that's what we write about. So what we always do is, when they read their stories and we discuss stories from the previous week and issues come up, or in general issues come up, and we're thinking about, well, what are we going to write today? If that's what's on people's minds, absolutely, they may write about that. We had a good amount of writing about COVID when that was happening. We have writing about, issues, political, economic, just social issues all the time. Yeah. So when we say their experience, yeah, because it resonates with people in the groups, absolutely. At the same time, they may want to write about a chore they hate. That's part of their experience too, so we feel like any story that you want to tell is meaningful because you want to tell it.
Right. And what is important to them is an important story to tell.
Exactly. That's perfectly said. Yes, exactly.
Well, Janise Hurtig, thank you so much for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today. And I think we'll have another interview in the future as 2024 rolls in, and I'm sure that there will be the community writing project will evolve.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Trudy, for the opportunity, and again, encouraging listeners to reach out if they're interested in just even learning more.
Yes.
We'd be delighted.
Yeah, you could just repeat your contact information and the website. So maybe listeners just came in late.
Sure, absolutely. So my contact information, so you can just write Community Writing Project 20 at gmail.com or jdhurtig@gmail.com. And our website is just www.communitywritingproject.org.
Hey, thank you so much, Janise Hurtig.
Thank you.